Hello, everybody. First video of 2023. Happy New Year. I want to share with you something that has emerged across the education sector over the last month that's going to blow your minds. Something I've been playing with for over a year, actually, that I discovered through my doctoral research. And it poses many questions about ethics in society as a whole. But if we focus in on education, the ethics of assessment, coursework, exams, submitting assignments, students developing knowledge, and so on and so forth. We're into some unknown territory that I don't think some of us are, well, I don't think we're ready for. So I'm just going to show you this portal here called Chat GPT, and it's an open source piece of software. One of the founders is Elon Musk, I'm sure you've heard of. So openai.com. Now, I've been playing with the kind of big brother version of this software for a long time. And this is the kind of new version that's free and many teachers have been playing around with. And ultimately, what it is an artificial platform that generates text-based content, enabling an individual like you, me, student, whoever, to pose a question, a statement, write an exam, write a lesson plan, and then it responds. And at times, it responds at great length. And if you learn how to use it more to a more sophisticated level, so entering a mark scheme, for example, it starts to respond over time. And as we know with artificial intelligence, it becomes more sophisticated the more times it's used by the majority, not just the individual. So when I first played with this kind of simpler version of the software, I was asking questions to begin with. Is teaching an art of a science or a science? Is progressive or traditional teaching methods work better than the other? Do Ofsted inspections improve outcomes, and so on and so forth? But I've also been playing around with things at a more deeper level. So I'm going to just show you, for about 10 or 15 minutes, a variety of scenarios where you might use Chat GPT. And then I'm going to show you the Big Brother version to finish. And I'm going to show you how it might change the way that you work. Now, I have a confession. I've been using artificial intelligence for 15 years. A lot of people in the early days used to always critique me as Teacher Toolkit. How does Ross hold down a full-time school leadership job and manage to write so much material? And it's because I was using this little fella, a microphone, and a piece of software called Dragon Dictate. And this was inspired by a head teacher I used to work with who was paralyzed from the neck down. And they used to, or he used to, and he still does today, use that software that learns from your voice, your grammatical language, and becomes more sophisticated over time. So I stole the technology. I was inspired by his ideas, got a microphone, and I started to speak into my device 15 years ago. And that's now software that's available to us on all our mobile phone devices. And here we are 15 years later. Many AI bits of software have been evolving and been immersed through the things that we all use. So automated emails, a chat box that I've got on my website and we'll all see on kind of large organizations that we pay for services, for example, our gas or electricity bills. And we don't have the capacity as an individual to reply to these chat boxes. I guess as an organization, it's good for efficiency to engage customers, but we get frustrated that we don't talk to a human. Dare I say, maybe in the future, we'll have individual chat boxes and features that we can use to reply to these robots. But anyway, that I digress. There'll be lots of questions that will come from this. So let me just fiddle with this software. You can leave comments in the chat box if you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, or my personal LinkedIn page. You can watch this back recorded, obviously, at any time on this link. But you can leave a comment to say hello, and I'll put your comment or question on the screen if you've got anything that you want to ask me. So I'm going to play with the kind of baby version of the software that most people are familiar with. And I'm going to work through 10 scenarios. I'm going to show you what it can do. So let's just pretend I work, because I'm going to name a school that I used to work at. I want the software to write a letter of application. Let me just We go, write a letter of application to Alexandra Park School, a great school, once topped the PISA league tables. I do say, a great school in North London. You have to forgive me trying to do two things at once here. My working memory limited. Write a letter of application to Alexandra Park School to become a full-time classroom teacher. Now, obviously, I can add much more detail. The more detail, the better the answer that you get back. So if I just show you how this works, so it's taken me 10 seconds or so, or a little bit longer. And this is what I get back. So obviously, the dear hire manager, I would obviously research the school, put the head teacher's name, the specifics about the job role, some keywords that are used in the school's marketing materials, and there you go. And someone's put in a comment here from Victoria. I use this here to fake a cover lesson. Did a good job. So if I was on the front line teaching, I'd be doing this too. And you can see my software's still going. But you think about workload. So my 5-minute lesson plan, it's redundant now. I can do one in 30 seconds. The 30-second lesson plan. Schemes of work. That's another scenario. So I've got 10 scenarios for you here. And Victoria's left a comment here about faking a lesson plan for a cover lesson. So that's a great example. So we'll do that one next. So I'm going to start a new chat. So you can see on the left-hand side here on the screen, it's automatically saved. I've got my own login here, so I can revisit these. And at some point, I suspect this will be free. So start playing with it and creating resources while you can. So here we go. So I'm going to want to write a detailed lesson plan. I'm going to try and be a bit more sophisticated here, conscious of my spellings as I type. Write a detailed lesson plan for a Year 7 design and technology lesson. The objective in 60 minutes is to learn more about hardwoods and softwoods. And I would like the software to tabulate it. So I want it to be put in a table so I can copy it, paste it over, and maybe divide the lesson into chunks. Divide the lesson, I'll do the spelling mistakes after, into time periods and tabulate the information. Okay, so bit of thinking time, press the button, and here we go. So let me hear your thoughts on this one. So it took me a minute or so to think. Software kicks it off. Duration 60 minutes, Year 7 students with the objective. It then lists the materials I might need. It then outlines a lesson. So you might be working with a 5-minute entry part to the classroom, a 10-minute starter activity, 2 20-minute chunks, and a 10-minute plenary, then pack away. And you can add all this into the start of your kind of AI kind of generation and let it respond. Now, the problem with this software, and I'm sure 1 or 2 teachers are starting to see this, is that you get what you're given back, and then you can ask for another response, or you refine your response. When I show you the Big Brother version of this software, you'll see that it's a much more sophisticated piece of software, and I've been playing with this one for about a year. So another question here from Lauren. Let me just put this one up on the screen. How do you download the software? It's free to use currently. You don't need to download anything. You just need to go to chat.openai.com. And when you log into the kind of playground software, you just need to press ChatGPT. So when I come to the Big Brother version of the website, I see it through here. But I'm sure if you can do an openai.com search, you can find that quite quickly. So let's just revisit this generation. So I'm just going to pop over here so I can see. So 60 minutes, we've got a 10-minute introduction to hardwood, softwoods. So let's assume it's their first lesson, this material. We've got a video animation of a tree grown, but we have to obviously go and find that. So there's still a workload commitment on our part to do that. But in terms of writing the text, writing the plan, Gone is the 5-minute lesson plan. It's finally gone. We've now got a 30-second lesson plan. And we've also got a comment here over on LinkedIn from Paulette. Um, because it's new open source software, the amount of people using it, the server capacity gets limited, so people get locked out quite easily. So I logged in quickly just before I started this little session. But there is a lesson plan, 30 seconds, a minute or so of thinking time. I add more detail. I can ask for another response here, regenerates response. Let's press that, see if we get a different version. And off it will go. And again, it saves it in the top right-hand corner, sorry, top left-hand corner, and I can build up a little database of ideas, download it, reuse them. I guess if the software then starts to charge or it limits what you can do, probably build up a collection of ideas quickly before things change. So you can see there's a different layout here. I have added the tabulate part specifically in brackets. So you can see here it's kind of listing them, and I always prefer numerical bullet points rather than the kind of black dot bullet points. I'm sure it's got a technical name. So it's easier to find, but it's not really tabulated it how I would like. So I would have to, I can go in here and I can edit. So divide the lesson period into time periods and divide, let's try a different response, the information into a table format. Let's try that. So save and submit. I want it as a table. There's another one I tried another time and it actually created a little grid so it was easier to follow. But obviously I'm doing something wrong here and it's not the end of the world. But I'm just showing you its potential and maybe also its limitations. So I'm going to stop that one and move on to another demonstration. So next one I'm going to do, I'm going to open a new chat and I want to design a multiple choice quiz for year 7 pupils, and I'll edit the spellings in a second. Design a multiple choice quiz for year 7 pupils on their developing knowledge of softwoods and hardwoods. God, my typing's awful during a live stream performance. Let's do some quick hacks with some spelling. This is what we can all do today, isn't it? We used to have to write these things with a pen. Remember those days? Okay, design a multiple choice quiz. Apologies, but you can. This is the reality. This is how long it's going to take you to do it. For year 7 pupils on their developing knowledge of softwoods and hardwoods. Now I'm going to be more specific here. Design a 5-question multiple choice quiz. I don't want to go on forever, so let me just do a simple quiz. Let's see what we get back. So there you go. So what I need to do, and this is a good question ethically as a teacher, you know, I think many years ago, before I started to get into knowledge and curriculum and schema and memory, my first response will say, well, this isn't acquiring student knowledge. And I guess when we get a student who copies and plagiarizes content and submits it, and we can kind of gauge as a teacher when we know them really well, this isn't Ross's piece of work, we can start to expose what knowledge is learnt or what knowledge is not. Looking at this, my life as a design technology teacher, I should be able to skim this and know if the AI software gives me back accurate information. So that knowledge, you need to, I guess, have a degree of knowledge to be able to use this software, to be able to understand what's being written. Otherwise, dare I say, you've got students just regurgitating software, submitting it back to the teacher, and there and therefore. And then what we have already emerging is lots of plagiarism software. We're now having to develop this to look at how AI software can check this type of content. So lots of ethics, but I want to not get bogged down in that. I just want to do some demonstrations. Let me respond to some of your questions. So I've got Catherine here saying, so I think on the Big Brother version, I think I pay for some credits, and I'll check that as we go into that. So I'm going to do that in about 5 minutes. So it might be the phone one. You might want to try the desktop one version that I'm also using. Stuart says, the marketing AI generated software, it also does that. And I do believe it can start to pick it up. But again, it's a new territory for us all. So something to be considered. But I've seen a lot of teachers experimenting with the marking software, adding in a mark scheme to this. So I might want to add a mark scheme now to this example on the screen. And or enter students' assignments and ask it to mark. Khalid, nice to hear from you. Thanks for watching. What's this? Microsoft have purchased 49% of the company. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, over time it'll be a lot more acceptable. And then Paulette's given me a Quillbot. I've not heard of Quillbot. Let me write that down. I'm sure there's others. I've never really explored plagiarism software. But thanks for that. Right, let's go. So I'm just going to sign up. I'm going to bring something over on my other screen. So I hope you can see this. Let me just check my video. Yes, you can. So about a week or so ago, I did these 10 things. So I've done the first 3 here: write a job application, write a lesson plan, design a quiz. I also did these: write a letter to an angry parent complaining about the school's lack of homework. And underneath the thread here on Twitter, you've got all the different responses. So I've just screenshotted them rather than video them. Write a school report, end of year report about Ross's ability in class. I describe what Ross's characteristics are, and then it responds. Really good for reducing my workload. Answer this question. So is there life on Mars or whatever it might be? Write a detailed teaching and learning policy. I spent 2 years doing that in my last school. Email my immediate team a motivational end of term email. It gives me an idea. I use it as a framework. I then tweak it and send it out. This one was contentious with people on Twitter writing a university application as a student getting into Cambridge University. So that's right at the bottom. Here we go here. The quality wasn't so good, but obviously it's the detail you put into the chat box first. And then my life as an author, I've spoken my content online and it's annotated it in text format as I've spoken. So that's allowed me to work much smarter than most. I have on the 3,000 blog posts and Teacher Toolkit, one blog is probably 50% AI content software because I was experimenting with this about a year ago. So it raises lots of questions, whether it's positive or negative. Again, I'm not going to get bogged down in the details here, but there's an example. I suppose, let me do one more and I'm going to show you the Big Brother software that some of you may not yet have tried. So I'll go to a new chat on ChatGPT. I am going to, sorry, I'm looking at 2 screens here. I'm going to the wrong screen. Write a detailed end of year, not term, end of year report for Ross, who is a year 7 pupil working really hard in all his subjects in school. Right, so let's keep this one simple. Let's see what we get back. So the amount of time it takes teachers to write a report. Let's see what we can get back here. So think about all those copy and paste paragraphs, those bits of software. And I suspect a lot of companies out there that do school reports, this is new territory for them too. And it'd be interesting to see what software they can integrate into their current platforms to also help teachers manage workload. Ultimately, what we're wanting is accuracy, efficiency, a reduction in our workload, and ultimately the receiver is the student and parent. We want them to get accurate information, at least in this context with school reports, that celebrates all the amazing achievements they've done in the year, but also identify some targets and ultimately want to see an impact from that report. So there you go. I've got 6 or 7 paragraphs. It's churned it all back to me in a minute. I can go back to the top here. So if you've not seen it before, just a reminder, I can press this button, edit, and I actually want, please add don't need to ask for please. Ask a add a particular reference to, let's say, something very specific, hockey. So the sport hockey achievements. So let's just see if we get a reference to hockey. So we're getting the maths and science. Now, I've done this a few times now, and we always get a reference to maths and science. I suppose it's a safe bet. But there you go. Ross has excelled in hockey, making significant contributions to the school team throughout the season. Now, I can't play hockey, but it's neither here or there. I'm showing you the software. So any questions about this before? So chat.openai.com/chat. Let me just open a new chat box for you. Chat GPT. I always get the T and the P the wrong way around. There's the link there. So language models, linguistic, bit of technology. Here we've got a reference here, the pro version, the most advanced AI chatbots. I've not even looked at any YouTubes. There's an enormous amount of press stories, and there's a huge army of people on Twitter, particularly teachers, looking at this to change the way they work and think. So I'm going to show you what I have, and I'm going to also, let me dig it out. I'm going to show you a blog which is partly AI generated. So the first one here, if I just put this on the screen, apologies everybody. Well, the first one was when I wrote for the new year, the future of education. So it's this blog here. So if you've not read it yet, that's it loading up. The future of education. I've put in the demonstrations, the videos, the experiments, all the links. If you've not had a look at that, all the ethics, the risks, and actually an academic paper from Ethan Mollick looking at the AI chat box from an academic perspective. So that's worth a read if you're working in the field of teaching. And so that's that one. And there's a paragraph in here. Let me just identify it for you. There, it's me again now. So this content above was AI generated in my blog. It's the only time. There's one other blog, and it was a blog on coaching. I'm going to dig it out. So 3,000 blog posts. You'll be pleased to know that 2,998 of them, 2,998 of them were all me. But there is, I think it's this one, a coaching strategy. So it was half me, half an AI chat box. And I was actually using the more sophisticated version of the software. And I was bringing all my coaching work together. And what the AI chat box did was generate lots of these questions very quickly for me. And I published it. And I remember receiving lots of positive responses from people in the field of coaching. So again, interesting. This is the software I'm using. I don't know what it's called. All I know is the word playground, which is there. And I don't yet understand all the technicalities, and maybe someone watching will. But on the right-hand side, you can see here, and I think I pay for something. Obviously, I know what I'm paying in terms of money, but I don't know what it's called, whether I'm paying for nuggets or responses or word count, those types of things. But we've got over here, in terms of the chat software, something called Text, DaVinci, Curie, Babbage, and Ada, and they all have different capabilities. So I think I'm on the one with the highest, but there's different ones, I suppose, for different purposes, I suppose, without my expertise, academic or kind of informal writing. And you've got all these different frequencies. And again, I've not really played with these. And you can look at the code. But what I love about this is the following. So I'm going to try and be conscious that you're watching live, but I'm just going to kind of zone out for a minute and just type something. So let me think about something, something I can do easily. What makes a great teacher? But think about the software. Now, the interesting thing I've learned, I'm just going to move my video quickly, my face to the side. In the bottom left-hand corner, I've got the word submit, and I can regenerate things or switch it back. But I think what I've learned is it's important. I can't leave a gap or a new paragraph because it stops the software reading the text. So you have to immediately stop straight after that. That's just something that's just worth pointing out. I then press submit and I get an AI response. So the highlighted text allows me to see what has been inputted by the artificial intelligence. Here I can then edit, delete, change, and this is what makes, I think, this a bit more sophisticated than the version that everyone else is playing with. And whether you want to, and I think Ethan Mollick in his academic research, and what I first discovered about a year or two ago was that the amount of work I have to, or the amount of text I have to write for my books, for my blogs, for my doctoral research, using technology to reduce workload, um, whether we call that working more efficiently or cheating, I guess that's the ethical stuff. But if we're reading and using our knowledge, editing, responding, refining, adding references, checking for accuracy, surely, I suppose, it's our point. So it's an open bit of software and it learns. So let's just say, for example, a great teacher is someone who is patient and caring. I'm going to delete the word patient. Just leave it someone who is caring. Now, I'd like to think my teacher trail was a little patient, but at times I know I wasn't. I'm just taking that away, just an example that you can edit the software. And then you've got see the green and the rest became unhighlighted. I don't yet know what that means. I've not played with this a lot. I'd probably say, well, what is a lot? So maybe 50 times or something over the last year. So I'm then going to just start to look what I might be writing as a paragraph. So we've got what makes a great teacher. An example of a teacher I used to work with at a secondary school. So I'm not writing anything academic. I'm just doing a simple demo. So I don't know the next bit. I might want to say Ross is the great example. An example of a teacher I used to work with at a secondary school. Let's just see if it replies. So we've got Mrs. Smith. She was enthusiastic, passionate about her subject. So you can see here how I'm now developing an AI response to the chat box feature that I guess you get a limited output, whereas I'm getting more of a fluid kind of Q&A response. So there you go. So there's an example. I can go on and on, write a blog, write a book, talk about my doctoral research. So let's just put in what is teacher autonomy, or in fact, what does the research say? What does the research say on teacher autonomy across English education? Because let's face it, it is slowly being eroded. What does the research say about teacher autonomy across English education? Remember the cursor straight after the last letter. Let's see what we get. And there's my Alexa kicking off here. Right, now at the moment, sometimes it gives you a academic reference, and this is where you need your knowledge and your accuracy. Let's just see a research reference includes, and I'm going to stop there and I'm going to bring things to an end so you can just see what I'm trying to show you here. Oh, and it's not, it's crashed, typical. A research reference includes, I'm going to put Fiesta because I know that's true. Let's see if I get a response. So the GERT is this first name, 2010, so that is accurate. Now I need to dig into the details here in terms of the reference at the end, 22 bracket 1, 33 to 46. So you can see. So that's playground. I'm going to just turn to some comments and show you some links. So on the screen, you've got a coaching strategy, which I would admit probably a quarter of this was AI generated. And I published this back in May 2022. And then the other blog that I wrote to suggest that we've got something to consider as educators is this blog, Artificial Intelligence. I published it on New Year's Day. You can find it on my blog. You need to log in. It's a free login to read it, but you can see the experiments, my video demonstrations. It's got the link here to the Twitter with all the 10 different experiments in greater detail. It poses some ethical things we have to consider, and I'm sure I've not covered everything. plagiarism, etc. And there's a nice little academic paper here from Ethan Mollock talking about the kind of risks and a little bit more. So that's there. And what else? What else? So you've got the chat box, the chat GPT, and then the playground software, which I've been showing you. So I'm just going to look at your comments just to finish. So let's just work through. I can see my good friend Ian is here. So Ian's got an Instagram link here, so I'll just put it on the screen. Obviously, you can't click on this. You might have to type this in. There's a good example of the danger and the tools to help check. Thank you, Ian. 2 more examples here. Clicks away. Watch. One on a couple on Instagram. So thanks for that. Jeanette, thanks for watching. I hope I've just gone through a little couple of things to let you see how you can access all the resources. So thanks for tuning in. James, any public information that user copies and pastes without giving a source, of course. So it's something that we need to start teaching our kids. And I think I showed this software to a group of 200 teachers in Wales on Monday, and it blew their mind. And there was lots of ethical thoughts being posed in the room. So something to consider for us all. Sheer, thank you for your watching and commenting. I used this tool a couple of days ago, and it's unbelievable. We need to learn AI in order to keep ourselves digitally literate. Absolutely. The playground, I think you go to the software, create your login. I'm sure you get a personal or a professional profile. I need to revisit what I'm doing, actually, because I've only played with it a few times, and I've been using it for about a year. So thank you, everybody. Right, so I'm just going to do that. Thanks, absolutely positive. Great, thank you, James. I can now see it. Okay, that's good to see, Jeanette. A question from Mary. Joe, anyone use this with students as yet? There's a good question. And then that's pretty much it. I was just working through all your comments. Obviously, it's the plagiarism, the ethics. I've got another one here from Paulette. Paulette, are you a plagiarism whiz here? Because you've given me 2 sources to check. So I'm going to write, so I've got Quillbot written down, and now I've got Outright. I suppose it's I don't need to really check plagiarism because I'm not marking students' work. However, when I submit my doctorate in the future, I should consider if I'm going to use AI to help generate some content, the ethics, the not legality is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. It's going to be my work, and I need to make sure that it's not copied from elsewhere. So that's it. It's 9 o'clock. Have a lovely evening. First video of the academic year. I'll try and do these regularly. I always say this every year. I normally do these on a Monday evening, but if I'm traveling to schools, it's impossible. Other than that, thank you very much. That's the future of education. That's something we've all got to consider. You can watch this back on YouTube. It'll be on the LinkedIn personal page, and it's on my Twitter stream. I'm going to pin this. It's already on my YouTube, so share this with people. I'm going to embed this video in that blog, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, look after yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.